Oh my God, we left these windows open and try and get it aired out in here for all the staining that we've been doing, and it was torrential last night, and it still is. We got water coming in. We need to check upstairs. Let's go check out the bedrooms. Water. We left all these windows open to kind of air it out from all of the stain because we're using oil-based stain, and we can only stain indoors because we don't have a shop. The water came in. Just some of the things we're trying to deal with. Welcome back to the build. Today we're dealing with a lot of rain. We're trying to stain these doors and get these all done, and it's a process. We don't have a shop where we can work in here, and we cannot turn the power on to the house. We have HVAC all hooked up, everything ready to go, but the power company will not allow us to turn on the power until we get final inspection. So we're trying to build this house as best we can under somewhat difficult circumstances because it's mid-July and it's really hot and humid. You know, we don't want any damage to the house from like stuff like rain and moisture and humidity in here, but you know, we also have to have ventilation when we're staining with oil-based stains. And so just a few of the things that we're trying to work through. But one of the things I really want to talk about in today's video is one of our biggest mistakes we made in this house build. And I think you guys might be interested in knowing this, especially if you guys are starting on this journey yourself. Huge thank you to Aerate for sponsoring today's video. We're going to get to sanding these doors and we're going to have a little conversation with you. Is that supposed to be angled weird like that?
It's back cut because it butts up together. If you close them both at the same time, they don't smack here and rub it off. We got to get these doors off this frame. All right, these are the pantry doors, the bifold, the bi-hinge.
My favorite doors of the whole house.
Yeah. And they turned out pretty nice. These had to be custom ordered, but they turned out nice. Taking these off the hinges, just getting it so we can get all the hardware off and get it prepped, sanded, all that stuff. Getting the pins out. You have to wiggle these hinge leaves apart. There you go. Set that there. Now when I take all these hinges off, I replace the middle screw with a long 3-inch construction screw that's black. So when we screw the frame to the wall, it's really strong. Otherwise, it's just pinned to the wall with, you know, your finish nailer. So I drive a 3-inch construction screw through that center hole in each hinge, and it's solid. So I discovered this when I was doing all the other doors. Had a big pile of hinges. Each leaf is this has two, what do you call that? Two thingies. The other side, on the door side has 3 thingies. Make sure you note which goes where. Otherwise, like on one I had to flip the door so that it opened a different way, and I ended up with hinges all bass-backwards. So these are all 2s, which means the ones I just took off are all 3 leaf. So I'm going to put 3 and 3. You'll never see that because it'll be covered by the hinge, but that just tells me which ones to put where. It wasn't an issue on a couple of the doors before because I just taped them and stained over them, but I like the idea of taking all the hardware off so you can stain and seal all of the bare wood, even what's behind the hardware. So, pro tip. So these hinges have the 2 tabs. So I'm going to write 2 in the mortise for the hinge. That way I know what to put where. Now these have these ball catch latches, which means you have to have your door hung pretty dead on. for them to catch. But I'm also going to add like magnetic cabinet latches, because these frames will tend to probably swell and shrink with seasons, and I don't want them flopping around.
Nobody likes things flopping around. Huge thank you to Ariat for sponsoring today's video. You guys know that they've been a sponsor of ours for the last year and a half now, and I pretty much own an entire Ariat wardrobe, but the one thing that I didn't have that was Ariat, that Ariat didn't make, was athletic wear. Of course, they make their equestrian lines and their riding clothes, but they don't have athletic wear, and I wear a lot of stretchy pants. Well, guess what they just came out with? Ariat Tech stretchy pants, and they are absolutely fantastic. They're nice and thick and comfortable. I absolutely love them. If you guys are looking for some really high quality clothing, definitely check out Ariat. We have a coupon code down in the description for 10% off. All right, so you guys might see a little bit more of me in the next couple weeks, because I did get into my health science program that I was trying to get into, but that doesn't start until August 18th. So I have a little bit of time to help Jeremy out up here and to do some videos and that kind of stuff. So you guys might be seeing a little more of me. But the thing I wanted to talk about today was like one of our biggest, I would say our biggest mistake that we made in moving out here. With as far as the house build is concerned, and I wanted to mention it because I think it might help a lot of other people that are currently thinking of selling their house and moving to a remote property to build the house of their dreams, like we are.
Move from the city to the country.
So just a little bit of a background is that, in 2017, we were living in suburbia in a 1970s ranch, brick ranch, and a lot of different properties around us were being purchased and sold off, and these big McMansions, like 5,000, 6,000 square foot houses are being built all around us. And also the area is getting built up with a lot of fast food chains and stuff. And so we used to live on a dirt road, and then they paved that road and all these houses started coming in and all that, like over the course of, I would say, 2 years. Well, yeah, but the last 2 years were really a lot. And so we were like, okay, we kind of want to live on our own terms and not with any kind of HOAs or anything like that. So we decided to sell, and we sold our house for a really good price. We thought it was peak market, but it seems like housing prices have continued to go up, but we still got a pretty good price for our house. And that was our savings to buy this property and to build a house. And so we moved out here. We were completely debt-free. We had purchased this property, and we had a nice savings account that we were going to use to build the house of our dreams. And Jeremy had designed a house for us, and he had spec'd out what the prices were for 2017 and how much it was going to cost us, and that was our plan in moving out here.
So that's a little background on how we got here. If you're new to the channel and you just jumped in and we're mid-house build and you're wondering, how the heck did you get there? Sold our place, moved here, had a budget, had our proceeds from our house that we're going to use to build this one. The intention was move on to this property, immediately get going. That didn't work. We are here now 4 years, and we didn't get started on building the house until 2 years in. So we weren't planning for that.
Yes, some of the things that happened were when we first moved here, we were living in a little tiny trailer. And the intention was just to be in that trailer for a year and a half until we get this house built. It had a solar system that came with it, but it was barely operational. Refrigerator worked maybe quarter of the time. Lights, hardly had lights. Water pump 1 hour once a day when we turned on the generator. And so for the first year and a half, we just spent, instead of building a house, we were just trying to figure out life and figure out how to exist. And
getting everything ready so we could survive the environment, infrastructure.
Right.
Just getting it set up so we could live here while we built.
We couldn't start building a house when we didn't have water at the house at the trailer to take showers and to wash dishes and stuff. So we had other priorities that came up in that first year and a half. And also, all right, if we're going to buy a solar system and invest money into it, what kind of solar system? So there's a lot of research that went into that. And so for the first year and a half, we're figuring that out. And then for the next half a year, so it would be, we're going into year 2. It was building the solar system and trying to figure out where we're going to put the house. And it was a matter of where we wanted to put it versus where we could put it with, as far as having to build roads and put in a well and where the well rig could get in. And we had to get people out here to try and figure out where the well could go and where it couldn't go. And so that was another big issue. And
I had already designed a couple houses for the location that we originally thought we wanted to put the house. Turned out couldn't put the house there because of the well issue. Ended up deciding to build where we're building now because it's the highest point and we could get a well in here. So I had to redesign a whole different house for this particular location, having the view, the windows and all that.
And that was a whole other thing.
And that took a long time. I mean, I ended up designing like 6 different houses, and that takes a long time.
So here we get to what I would say is our biggest mistake. And I don't know that it was something that we could have foreseen or anything that we could have mitigated. But I'm passing it along to you guys in case you guys are in this situation. So our biggest mistake was that we had sold our house. We'd moved out here with a certain budget. We planned a budget for a house, and that was based off of 2017 numbers. And then life just got in the way. Things just took a lot longer than we had ever anticipated. And we were aware that it could potentially take a little longer than we had wanted. A lot of people told us, it's going to take longer than you expect. And, all right, so we expect it to take a year. It might take 2 years right now. Well, we're on year 4. It took a lot longer. And in the meantime, what had happened is inflation. And I know you guys are experiencing this as well. Gas prices are up. Wood prices tripled. It's hard to get products in. Everybody is back ordered on everything, and prices are through the roof. So everything that we had planned out based off of 2017 prices are now like double and triple.
So now you have supply chain issues. If you can even get the product you're trying to get, you should have ordered it a year ago. Turns out, nobody planned for that. You have builders who aren't even building now. The houses that they started maybe a year ago, it used to be they would order their lumber package that they needed for the next day to get the next day's work done. So like if we were going to frame the subfloor, we would get the materials we needed to do that delivered, do it, order what we needed to do the walls the next day. You can't do that now. If you can get the lumber, it was ridiculously high. So you had builders that were in the middle of a couple builds getting as much lumber as they could for their next 4 or 5 houses, and they were stockpiling it in the house they're building, which, they're tripping over it all the time, but it's like gold. So those guys were a little bit more fortunate, having the materials at a little bit better price so that they had work that they could, move out through the year versus buying it with that just-in-time delivery that they were used to. Lumber futures are now at about 800, which is half of what they were a month ago.
So just to give you an idea, when we first planned this house back in 2017, 2018 prices, he had budgeted $5,000 for the lumber for both porches, not including labor, but that was just the lumber. And now it is what, double? Triple? It was triple.
It was triple. Now it's about 10.
And that doesn't
that was, when I originally budgeted, that included like 10% wiggle room. Right now, just for the lumber package, joists, ceilings, posts, beams, $10,000.
Now, I know a lot of people want to know, like, why we have all this lumber on our property, why we can't use it.
We might.
Yeah, well, a lot of it is a lot of our wood is standing wood.
You have to have a way to mill it. You have to have a way to dry it. You can build your entire house here with lumber off your own property, but it has to be off your own property, and you have to dry it to 16% or less moisture content, which not a big deal. We have a couple saw logs that I kept from when we cleared the land. We may end up getting a chainsaw mill or something and milling those down just to do the posts and the beams for the porches, because it's coming to that.
But it's a time versus money kind of thing,
is.
and that's where we're at right now, and that gets me to the main point, which is my advice is if you guys are starting on this journey and you guys have, you guys know what your ballpark is, especially if you're doing a debt-free build like we are. If you guys are planning on building a house for a certain budget, if you can complete that within the first year or 2 years, that's
the key.
That's the key. If you can't, or if you suspect that you might not, dragging it on longer, definitely add in, he added in 10%, but then this ended up being more than double. And now we're at the position or the place where we have to decide, do we finish this build so that we are able to move in here and it's going to be a ridiculous price to get this wood and get all the finished materials and everything for this house, or do we hold off and hope that prices drop? And we don't know if or when they will. And if so, how long is that going to be? And how long is this trailer going to last that we're in? And it's a waiting game at that point. And so, if you guys are building and you're considering this, either build it within the first year, 2 years, just plan on trying, however you can, getting that done, or add a huge buffer in there just in case something happens, like we're experiencing now.
Now, obviously, we didn't expect COVID to happen. We didn't expect the whole world to run into shutdowns and supply chain issues and all the repercussions from that. So had we planned for that, obviously, we'd not be in this situation. But we aren't completely hosed. We were very fortunate that we got all the framing finished, with the exception of the porches, before this whole thing hit. So compared to people today trying to build where their lumber package is $30,000 to $50,000 more, just because the lumber is more expensive. There's nothing different about the house. We're not in that bad a shape. We also have been buying up as much finished materials and appliances and fixtures and everything as we can, because prices are still going up. I just bought our tile for the floors and the showers in the bathrooms. I just bought all the flooring for the entire house, which will be going up in price again in a couple weeks. Just went up a week or two ago. So I'm trying to lock all that stuff in and get it here, because I don't think this inflation situation is going to decrease as much as other people do. I think lumber is going to even out like it has been, because it was an outlier. It was super volatile, but overall, the costs of everything are going up. So again, trying to get all that stuff locked down, and then our labor is our labor, so we can work through all these materials and these projects as we have time. But if you're trying to get a builder to do this type of work, right now, forget about it, or expect to pay a super huge premium based compared to like a year or so ago. Had we known this, obviously we would have made different plans, but we didn't. And we thought, well, we can spend as much time as we need to, pay as we go, and we didn't expect that. The other thing is, once you start, you have to finish, because now you have a half-done house that is degrading until it's complete. You can't just leave things unfinished in the weather. Like a good example she was talking about earlier.
Humidity.
With humidity, we'd love to be able to turn our air conditioners up. They're all ready to go, but we can't have permanent power turned on until we have our final inspection, certificate of occupancy, all of that. I don't understand that rule. I think it's stupid, but in the meantime, we have a lot of wood in this house, and it's mid-July, and we got to get this stuff done.
And insects.
Yes, and everything that comes with summertime. So we're trying to get a climate-controlled environment as quickly as we can. But as a result of inflation, definitely a bunch more challenges.
So one of the things, though, that we don't regret is building the type of home and quality of home that we are building. There are a lot of different options out there, but what was important to us was that we were going to build a nice quality home that had the ability to last us the rest of our lives if we chose to stay here, or if not, that it would be a good sellable asset. And so we have put a lot of time and consideration into the types of materials that we're using and the structure that we're building, and to make it that quality home that we really want. And that is one thing we absolutely do not regret. This is going to be a very good home that you don't find too many of these out there in the United States. Most houses are slapped up, and ours is not. A lot of details gone into this, and that was intentional.
I'm really happy with what we chose to build, how we chose to build it. You know, like I said, the big challenge is dealing with the supply chain and getting what we need and getting people to help.
And doing it within our budget.
Within our budget, yeah.
All right, so that about wraps up today's video. If you guys are currently experiencing any kind of issues with building a home and trying to get supplies, especially if you're trying to do something debt-free, let us know. Leave us a comment down below. Let us know if you're trying to hold off until things maybe improve, or if you're just trying to push through and get it done as quickly as possible, and you're biting the bullet and just paying the higher prices.
Still debt-free, but may not stay that way. I don't know. So far, so good, but
we're trying.
Yep.
Thanks for sticking with us, and we'll catch you in the next video.
See ya. Here's another pro tip that I just thought of. Where's my pencil?
Is that the pro tip? Know where your pencil is.